Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Ryan Richards, a residential loan officer and real estate investor based out of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Today I have another solo episode bringing an exciting, well, maybe not exciting, but interesting topic that I've seen as a trend over the past few years, and inevitably many people fall into this trap: analysis paralysis. So if you're someone who's thinking about buying a house, but you find 15 different reasons not to, then this is the episode for you. So you're thinking about buying a house, or you're under contract on a house, but you're finding 15 million reasons not to buy the house. It's okay. It's inevitable. But there are a few things that I want you to keep in perspective in the big picture about buying a house. I've seen several of my clients fall into this analysis paralysis trap. It either stops them from buying, prolongs their buying process, or in some cases made them miss significant opportunities. When it comes to buying a house, it's really important to understand that buying a house to live in it is not really an investment. I think some people get really caught up in the numbers and the idea that buying a house creates wealth, and it can over the long term, but fundamentally it's not an investment strategy. Buying a house to live in it, to pay a mortgage, is not an investment strategy. It's one that can create wealth in the long term as an upside, as a bonus. But fundamentally, the reason why people buy houses to live in it is to live in it. To have a place of your own, more space, place for your family, and start to build towards some sort of wealth. But it's not the same as buying some sort of investment. It's different. And the reason I say this is because sometimes clients and people who are interested in buying houses or in the buying process get very analytical and sometimes too over analytical on the economics and numbers and projections side of owning a house. And they forget the real reason why they're buying it in the first place. It's to move out of that 2-bedroom apartment and get away from their landlord and start to pay for their own house. That's the real reason why people buy houses, is to live in them and enjoy it and start a new life for their family. Oh, and help create some wealth for the long term. It's that and extra benefit. So keep that in mind as you're considering buying a house, because I have a few examples I want to share with you of clients who didn't look at the big picture and fell victim to overanalyzing. One particular client comes to mind. This was a gentleman who was looking for a multifamily in Worcester, and he was looking to live in one of the units and rent out the others. Long story short, by nature, he was very analytical, and he would send spreadsheets that we would review together to analyze not only the numbers, but projected appreciation over the next few years, potential tax savings, and really analyze this purchase as if it was his only life's investment strategy. Not to say you shouldn't consider all the variables, I think you absolutely should. But to this level of detail to determine a decision like this, I think you kind of have to back up and look at the overall picture. Because here's what he ended up missing out on. And to this day, to my knowledge, he has not bought a property. In 2020, he had a 3-family in Worcester under contract, Worcester, Massachusetts, for $450,000. 3 families in Worcester now sell for $800,000. He had it under contract for $450,000. He had a 4.875% interest rate, which at the time he couldn't get over the fact that it was that high. In addition to the 4.875% rate, and it could be, probably was a little bit lower, but it's the point, not necessarily the number. He also was getting an assistance loan from the state of Massachusetts. A lot of states have these assistance loans. At the time, that loan had no interest. He was getting $25,000 with no interest to buy this house. So he was getting a subsidized down payment, what, looking back now, was a great rate and an awesome price. Property was in great condition, the inspection report looked great, but he couldn't get over the fact that his monthly payment was XYZ per month, and that based on what he was expecting to receive in rent, that he still had to pay X amount per month, which ended up being less than his rent. He wanted to find the perfect property that the rents covered the mortgage payment, he could live for free, and he wanted his mortgage payment to be a certain number because he wanted it to be an investment. He's like, if I'm buying this property to live in it, I want to make sure that I get a good return on my investment, and that means only spending X amount per month. What ended up happening, he backed out of the deal. He backed out of that transaction, and he never bought a house. Had he done that and looked at the big picture, in that real estate is a long-term investment, it takes 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 years for that asset to really perform. But fundamentally, the reason you're buying the property is to start that next phase of life, to get your own space, to take on new responsibilities, and as a bonus, over the long term, build some wealth. Had he taken that 30,000 foot view, he'd be sitting in a property at an interest rate well below market with probably $400,000 in equity. But to my knowledge, still doesn't own a house. If that person happens to be listening, which I doubt, maybe you think I'm right, maybe you think I'm not. But I think high level, looking back, there was a missed opportunity. And I don't want someone else listening to this podcast to fall into the same trap. I have other clients who fall in the same boat. Several clients who have offered on many homes who just can't seem to find the right property. And the question then becomes, is it the property? Is it the competition? Or is it your analysis? You can get any offer accepted. It just comes down to what price you want to pay and what terms you want to offer. So is the reason you haven't found the house because of the market, or is it because of how you're analyzing things? And if you analyze it from the perspective of, can I afford the payment? Do I like the area? Do I like the house? You're more likely to find something than if you really microanalyze the numbers and the trends and the forward-looking projections of appreciation in different markets for your primary residence. Yeah, if you want to buy a 20-unit apartment building that you're going to hold as an investment property for strictly income purposes, then absolutely all those other metrics matter. But if you want a house for you and your family to live in, my personal opinion, don't worry about the rest. Focus on how much your payment you can afford. See what that gets you for a price point. Find the areas you want to be in and see what that gets you for a house. If you can't get enough house in the areas you're looking in, look in different areas. If the areas you want to be in get you less house, either move your budget or compromise on some of your criteria. Those are kind of the only options. Otherwise, of course, continue renting, save some money, and rehash it next year. But there is ways to get into properties. I think a lot of times people create their own roadblocks just by analyzing the wrong types of things. And I see it in more ways than this, many different examples. I have a client right now who for the longest time was interested in buying a house. He said, my payment can only be, I don't know the exact number offhand, but it's $4,200 a month. I can only spend $4,000 a month on my mortgage payment. That would only translate to, say, $500,000 in a price point. I can't find a house for $500,000 in that price point because my mortgage is only $4,000. I can't go any higher. My counter argument, why don't you get rid of the $1,800 a month car payment you have, and now you can buy more house? Change the perspective. So my recommendation is to focus on the big picture. What areas do you want to be in? How much can you afford on your payment? Do you have any ways to change your budget by maybe paying off some debt, selling a car, whatever the case may be, saving some more money? And what types of properties are you looking for? What are you looking for you and your family? The rest of the stuff, I mean, if you hold real estate long enough, it'll go up in value. So don't worry too much about the investment. And if you aren't watching this virtually or video, you're seeing me air quote, investment. That's a bonus, that's an upside. The real reason you buy a house is to live in it, enjoy it for your family, and start that next phase of your life. As always, if you have questions about this topic, you want to talk more and more detail, or you completely disagree with me and want to get into a collaborative discussion about the topic, I am more than happy to do that as well. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.